China has done a great deal to diversify its export markets, especially over the past year, and it seems that it's one thing that led to greater than expected growth in this most recent report. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, it's actually breathtaking to see these statistics just month after month, quarter after quarter, and I think it's the big story here is not just about the spectacular growth of China's exports. The real story here is that this spectacular growth is happening in the context of declining trade with the United States. I mean, look at the exports to the United States over the last 9 months. It's been steadily declining.
Down 31%, last I saw?
Declined by 27%, actually.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, so I'm saying that the big story is that China's exports has been performing so well in the context that exports to the United States has been declining by about 27% in September, and that's been steadily declining. The U.S. market used to be accounting for close to 20% of China's exports market. Today, it has declined to 11.5%, according to my calculation, for the first 9 months of this year. So, I think this sends a very strong message to the White House that amidst all these trade policies coming from Washington, Beijing is ready to deal with that because there's an expanding market here that China's exports can rely on.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of stories are out indicating that the Trump administration really thought that its punishing tariffs would bring China to the bargaining table, but just the opposite. Talk about finding these new outlets and how significant this has been, and how are the U.S. tariffs affecting China?
Well, I think, based on my observation, it appears to be there's some internal disagreement within the Trump administration. And on one hand, you see Scott Bessent and Jamieson Greer, having a fairly successful negotiation in the last 2 rounds with China's negotiation team. On the other hand, you see these policies coming from the Commerce Department led by Lutnick that's very detrimental to this negotiation, and this is actually the driving reason why Beijing has been introducing its regulatory measures regarding the rare earths matter. So I think it's mixed messages coming from Washington, and from Beijing's perspective, China has to respond in some kind.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's reported that Jamieson Greer tried to contact his counterpart in Beijing just a few days ago, trying to cool down the situation, and Beijing declined this phone call. So apparently, I think there's some kind of disagreement. The policies coming from Washington, coming from the Trump team, hasn't been consistent. That is the issue, I think. That has to be straightened out.
Okay, so where do we stand with the trade tensions between these two nations in light of the recent tariff announcements? Because Trump's most recent threat sent global markets tumbling last week, but then again over the weekend, the president backed off a bit. He's very hard to read.
Well, I think the announcement coming from President Trump and this very, very long Truth Social post, it's just a very typical knee-jerk reaction from President Trump. Yeah, obviously he's very angry. I've never seen him written such a long post, and it's a very, very long post, and then even mentioned the peace process in Gaza. So obviously, he views this as spoiling his celebration party in Gaza. But as I said, this is something the Chinese government has to respond to. And I think the day for that introduction of the 100% tariff is not without coincidence here. It is right after the APEC meeting where supposedly President Trump and President Xi are going to meet. I'm pretty sure that this issue will be resolved after they meet with each other. And I don't think that the 100% tariff will be indeed implemented because we have gone through this stage before.
Right.
Back in April this year, both countries' tariffs have risen to above 100%, and it doesn't last very long. So I think if the United States is going to impose a 100% tariff, China is going to respond in kind, and we go back to the situation in April again, and they're going to find out very quickly that it's not going to be sustainable, and we'll have to come to the negotiating table anyway. So I'm pretty convinced that said, the 100% tariff will not be implemented at all.
Now, you talked about the rare earth materials just a short while ago. China really controls the cards when it comes to those minerals. Its exports fell 31% in September, so there are so many commercial and military uses for these minerals. Explain what changed China's export policy.
I think this regulation policy exactly mirrors the same kind of what's called a long arm administration or long arm regulation Washington introduced regarding its semiconductor product exports. It's basically the same thing. Any country, any company that's been using China's rare earth materials will have to be subject to certain regulations. And it's exactly the same model in my view. And I think this is essentially the cards both hold in their hand in this negotiation process. The United States holds a very good card regarding semiconductor, high-end semiconductor products. China holds the same card with respect to rare earth materials. So I think I think Beijing is learning very fast about the kind of restrictive policies that Washington has been used in the past in dealing with China, and it's the same kind of strategy. But I think ultimately they have to come to the negotiating table to work out something.
Okay, John, only about 30 seconds. Give me a quick snapshot of how Golden Week affected October's data.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we have just come out of the Golden Week vacation here in China for the national holiday here. The numbers, the statistics I have seen so far have been quite encouraging. You look at the people taking vacations. It's past the same period last year. You go to the airports, railway stations being packed. So I think in general, as the living standard increases, people's tendency to travel during vacation time, during holiday season tends to increase as well. I think there is some strong evidence to suggest that consumption is indeed coming back, especially in the service sectors. And I think for the rest of the year, we have one more quarter left before reaching the end of the year. And I think, judging by the GDP growth figures for the first 3 quarters, I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to meet the 5% growth target for the whole year in 2025.
Okay, John Gong, always a pleasure. Thank you for your insight, my friend. We appreciate it.